In this slideshow, Creative Commons Aotearoa will give a basic introduction to Creative Commons licenses for the library sector. Creative Commons is a global organisation that aims to realise the potential of the Internet, universal access to knowledge and full participation in culture. Creative Commons Aotearoa New Zealand is a local affiliate of Creative Commons. They support licence users and advocate for the adoption of open licensing in publicly funded organisations. Before explaining the licences, we're going to make a few quick points to set the scene. The first point is an obvious one to most in the library sector. Heritage institutions have digitised a heap of content. Digital New Zealand links to digital heritage items from over 120 content partners all over the country. They recently passed 26 million items, with more being digitised all the time. The second point is that the technical barriers to access and reuse are dropping. It's getting easier and easier to make new creative works. The best evidence of this is from the Manning brothers, who made a stop-motion Lego animation as an entry to 2013's Mix and Mash, focusing on road safety. The brothers used Creative Commons licensed music, which they referenced at the end. The brothers are aged 6, 9 and 11. The third point is that there is an obvious potential to disseminate digitised heritage items for reuse. There is increasing demand for heritage items by the general public, including publishers and educators. A great example of this is from the Getty Museum in the United States. Traditionally, the Getty made high-resolution digital reproductions of their out-of-copyright works available for a fee through their picture library, and received approximately 121 purchases per month. Last year, they made high-resolution images available for free to the public and received 60,000 downloads. As many librarians know, however, the legal barriers to dissemination and reuse remain. The primary legal barrier for most institutions is copyright. Copyright restricts many normal, everyday forms of reuse. Technically, it has become easier than ever to share cultural works online. Legally, it is as hard as it has ever been to secure permission. The fifth point is that even when copyright has expired in a work, this is not always clear to the public. As anyone who has browsed a range of usage rights statements knows, they are often vague and are certainly not standardized across the sector. Often the burden of determining the legal status of a work is given to the user. One example of this is the Royal Society of New Zealand's Transactions and Proceedings. As you can see from the screenshot, the library record for the volume from 1881 suggests that the usage rights are unclear, even though the average contributor to the proceedings that year would have had to have lived well into their hundreds for the work to still be in copyright. Many of these issues are not new to heritage institutions, where the debate tends to be framed as one between kaitiaki and reuse. The broader point, however, is that most people have no idea what the heritage sector has, but there is demand, as the experience of the Getty Museum has shown. So, what to do? Most institutions start from a default position of closure. Creative Commons argues that the sector should start from a position of openness, and then make the case for closing collections as required, be it for reasons of privacy or donor and deposit agreements. More specifically, Creative Commons argues that the heritage sector should clearly mark out-of-copyright works as out of copyright. This provides clarity and consistency to both the public, who can reuse works without worrying about rights issues, and the institution itself, which will no longer need to respond to permission requests from the public. The same point works for Creative Commons licensing, where the donor of a collection of items is happy to release their work under an open license. The heritage institution should make it as easy as possible for them to do so. This will save the institution time and money over the term of copyright. It will also enable the public to more easily engage with its publicly housed collections. One example of CC licensing at work is the Upper Hutt City Library, which has secured permission to openly license tens of thousands of images donated from the community. The third category of work is those produced by the institution itself, and for these we recommend following the review and release process of the New Zealand Government's Open Access and Licensing Framework, and the web address is www.ict.gov.nz/guidance-and-resources/information-data/NZ NZ Goal is government advice, approved by Cabinet, which advocates the use of Creative Commons attribution licenses for public agencies. While the focus of NZ Goal has often been high-value data, NZ Goal is in fact aimed at realising both the economic and creative potential of unlocking works held by public agencies. The fourth thing to do, and this relates to the second point, is to add a CC option to donor agreements, to give donors the option of using CC to release their works. So what is Creative Commons anyway? Creative Commons provides free legal tools to help people and organisations share their work online. These tools are intended to be a pragmatic solution for copyright holders. They are standardised and recognised all over the world. Importantly, creators retain copyright. Many creators are unwilling to let their work fall into the public domain, where there are few restrictions on how their work can be used. Others find copyright, with all rights reserved, too restrictive. Creative Commons is a pragmatic middle road, giving you some rights reserved. There are four main license elements. Attribution. This requires that the user of the licensed work credit and acknowledge the original author. Non-commercial. Allows the licensed work to be used, but not for commercial purposes or for profit. No derivatives. Does not allow the user of a licensed work to alter the work in any way. It must stay in its original form. Share alike. Requires that any new work must be licensed under the same terms as the original work. This gives us 6 licenses, running from more free to more restrictive. And starting from the left-hand column at the top. Attribution lets others distribute, remix, tweak, and build upon the original creator's work, even commercially, as long as the creator is credited for the original creation. Attribution share alike lets others remix, tweak, and build upon the original creator's work, even for commercial reasons, as long as the creator is credited and they license their new creations under the identical terms. These first 2 licenses are the most free Creative Commons licenses and qualify as free cultural works licenses. In the middle column, starting at the top, attribution non-commercial lets others remix, tweak, and build upon the original creator's work non-commercially, and although their new works must also acknowledge the original creator and be non-commercial, they don't have to license their derivative works on the same terms. Attribution no derivative. Allows for redistribution, commercial and non-commercial use, as long as it is passed along unchanged and in whole with credit to the original creator. And lastly, the column on the right hand side at the top, Attribution, non-commercial, share alike. Lets others remix, tweak, and build upon the original creator's work non-commercially, as long as they credit the original creator and license their new creations under the identical terms. Attribution, non-commercial, no derivatives. Allows others to download the original creator's works and share them with others, as long as they mention the original creator and link back to him/her, but they can't change the works in any way or use them commercially. You can go to the convenient tool at www.creativecommons.org/choose to figure out which license works for you and your work. The tool will generate a logo, a license statement, and HTML code to make your work easier to find in search engines. Here's an example of a Creative Commons licensed work. And here's an example of how that work has been remixed. Importantly, CC licenses come in layers. Creative Commons New Zealand has a button which contains HTML code. If you click on this, you will go to the human readable version of the CC licenses, which gives a plain English version of the basic terms of the license. From here, you can read the lawyer readable versions, which go into more detail to ensure that the licenses work within New Zealand and international copyright law. While it can be hard to know for sure, we think that there are at least 700 million works in the world using a Creative Commons license. If you want to find these works, go to creativecommons.org/search, which provides links to a dozen search engines for music, images, video, and more. Go to creativecommons.org.nz for more information, and if you have any questions, email Creative Commons at admin@creativecommons.org and follow them on Twitter or Facebook.